Hello, hello, hello. My name is Lián. I am the host of IllumināDID. We are a DID system that is working to dispel stigma surrounding the disorder, as well as connect survivors and supporters in order to help others understand the disorder more. We also are in the works of starting a charity project that will help survivors of severe trauma like REMCOA and TBMC connect with other survivors, support systems, networks, and helps. That is a work in progress, but this is the dream. So anyway, today's video is going to be about types of switches in DID. So when we are referring to switches in regards to DID, we are talking about the moment when the part that is out, so me, Lián, I'm the one out right now. Wow, my hair's a mess. I am the one out right now, Lián. Say if Nim or Calliope were to come out, that would be a switch. This video is going to discuss what types of switches exist in our system personally, and kind of what they might look like, how they feel, and all that good stuff. So stick around, and this is sort of an educational video. So we're gonna have some notes here, and yeah, so stay tuned and find out more about what switches are like with DID. Disclaimer. All switches in DID are considered to be caused by something, whether it be negative or positive. With therapy and active parts work, communication can be built to facilitate switches that appear to be on command. However, these switches come from active teamwork within the system, whilst being activated by some form of outside stimulus. A quick vocabulary lesson. Fronting, or front, or fronting. This refers to the state of running the body, sailing the ship, or being in charge. An altar or altars that are near the front are considered to be fronting. In the event that multiple people are near or at the front, we would call that co-fronting or co-conscious or co-con. Switching. In reference to DID or OSDD, this refers to the changing of active parts at the front of the system. Switches can be quick or slow, but a switch is simply whoever was out front is no longer the same person. Trigger. Negative stimuli that causes a reaction in the system, whether somatic or emotional. Glimmer. Positive stimuli that causes a reaction in the system, generally involving a quick switch or emotional shift. Please bear in mind that we are using names for these switches that work with our system and care team. There may be other vernacular online that differs from what we use personally. We are not a paragon of the lexicon regarding DID and dissociative disorders, so please consider that while watching. Okay, now that we got all the wordy word stuff with the vocab and so you can read what was going on out of the way, we are going to kind of just dive into talking about what switches are like. The first one is a switch that we call the flash switch or the brace for it switch. This is caused by a PTSD trigger, like a loud noise or a sudden bang or some sort of external stimuli. Usually, alters will not see it coming, but they do recognize that a trigger has taken place. The switch is just not something they're prepared for. The second type of switch is called the delayed switch, or the where are they switch. This switch can be caused by PTSD triggers, overstimulation, or overwhelm. Members who are at front can kind of feel that the switch is about to happen, but maybe it feels like the alter that's coming forward is sort of lost or sort of stuck in the brain. Like you can tell they're coming, but it's like, hello, down a long echoey hallway. Once the person who is attempting to come forward actually comes forward, it feels a lot more cathartic than just, say, a standard switch. The third switch on this list is the WTF switch, or the what just happened switch. This is always going to be a PTSD trigger. It will never be seen coming. There's no buildup, it just happens. Amnesia is always included in this switch, and the alter at the front never sees it coming. And more often than not, the alter that does switch, there's a moment of processing, holy shit, did I just switch? And what is going on right now? Oh wow, what's happening? So it's a complete loss of what is actually going on, a disconnect between the two alters. The fourth switch would be the get the fuck out of there switch, or the, yoink, danger, Will Robinson switch. This is a switch that happens when perceived danger has occurred and a protector internally sees this danger has occurred and is, nope, they're not about it. So they come forward and they yoink whoever is at front away from it as fast as possible. This is almost always disorienting, but usually the protector that does the yoinking, as it were, is also the protector that steps in to take care of what's going on at the time. So that disorientation is limited to those who are not even at the front. It's it's kept in the headspace while the protector deals with whatever the situation happens to be at the time. The utility switch is one that might be varied among systems. We call it the utility switch. It is, we are doing X and we need Y to do it. Meaning, whoever is out front right now, perhaps the person who is out front is more adept at drawing like sketch art, right? But we need someone who actually knows how to paint with a paintbrush. Those two people might not be the same person. So person at front tries to ask person who knows how to paint, hey, can you come forward? And it's like, okay, hopefully they do come forward. If those two parts have good communication, the coming forward is inevitable and it will happen eventually. But sometimes, and more often than not, what happens is that the person who is at the front cannot get the person who knows how to do the thing to come forward in time. So person at front goes, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. We're just going to wing it. And then chaos ensues. On a good day, that switch is successful. On a bad day, communication fails and we just struggle. Number 6 is the fluid switch, or the we have reached flow state switch, meaning the two alters that want to switch are so fluidly able to do it that it is as simple as me going, hey, Tristan, can you come forward real quick? And they can go, and it's easy for them to come forward because, hey, it's Tristan, and it's that simple for us to switch because our communication is so good with each other that we don't have trouble switching in between parts. So now if I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to step back for a second and let Lián come forward. Just give me a minute. All right, if there's an edit in here, it's because our husband came in to ask us about food. But what I was saying was that if I decided to, Jesus, Lián, what did you do to our, anyway, okay. If I decide to ask Lián to come back out now, just for the sake of fluidity, because it's easier that way, it would literally be me requesting, and tis me, it's back. So it actually works out pretty well when you can do a fluid switch, but fluid switches are hard. They're a little rough, and I wasn't expecting that delay of the food asking, so that felt a little weird to do. But anyway, that was a fluid switch, and it only works, honestly, if you've got alters that actually communicate really well with each other. So again, Tristan and I, big bro, big sis, we get on with each other, or little sis, big bro, whatever, we get on really well. Technically, I am the big sis, but I act like the little one. There's a lot of, anyway, we're ignoring that. Communication has to be there, but if you've got communication, it's super easy. Doesn't give us headaches. If anything, it makes us burp a little, like it gives us gas, which is a weird thing to say out loud as a system, but maybe it's something someone else will relate to. If not, we're the weird ones here, you know. We're at peace with that, that's fine. Number 7 is the teamwork switch. This is similar to what you just saw with the fluid switch, except that instead of it just being between two people like it was me and Tristan, it would be between, well, not between, but it would be a conglomerate of alters coming to the front to sort of team team effort, whatever situation was going on at the time. So I wouldn't call this so much a switch as more of a collective co-consciousness that happens at hopefully will, but usually not will. Usually it's they just crowd the front whenever they choose to. So the optimal version of these switches are at will when we choose to, but that takes a lot of healing, a lot of communication, and a lot of time. So, okay. So I'm interjecting because I don't know where the camera is on my phone. I'm interjecting real quick with footage. We forgot number 8. Just completely forgot number 8. Just left it out completely. But number 8 is the stuck switch. The let me out, I'm trapped. So say one of us is trying to get back in, or one of us is trying to get out. That is when the switch is the thing that happens. I still apologize for this footage. I genuinely can't figure out where the lens is on my camera. So anyway, but the stuck switch is number 8. It happens a lot more than we want it to, but usually it resolves itself within a few hours. So like that's fortunate, but it can also last days or, you know, months, which doesn't happen too often. My husband would attest, but they're rough. All right, back to the regular one. Number 9 is the accidental switch. This one is I asked for one person and I got the wrong person. So perhaps I felt like I needed help from Cleopy, and I asked for Cleopy, and then suddenly my brain yeets Nim to the front. That's an accidental switch. Oops, wrong one. More often than not, it tends to be a little traumatic because maybe we're trying to get an adult out and a child comes forward. That is when the accidental switch goes awry, and it can be a little destabilizing and a little bit terrifying. It's always terrifying, let's be real. Sometimes switches suck, especially when they take a long time. But the worst switch is the next one we're going to talk about, which is number 10's switch, is the Fugue Switch. This one, I have no memory of. This place is how we've labeled it, I believe. And it is the switch that you go to bed, you wake up 3 years later. You close your eyes in the middle of a bad moment and you wake up a year and a half later. You blink and it's 6 months. It's the switch where you don't even realize you switched. You don't realize you lost the time that you did until you come back and you realize just how much you've missed. These are the worst. These are the ones that most systems, I think, fear, and they are absolutely destabilizing and a little bit debilitating, which is where switches become not so awesome and a lot more fucking scary. I didn't mean to swear. And this is where switches become a lot more Anyway, I don't know what I was saying, so we're just going to let that one go. In conclusion, all switches are caused by some form of stimuli, whether it's internal or external, whether it's external or internal. If it's a trigger, a glimmer, it's always going to be something. You could have asked, you could have thought about something too much, thought about a bad memory too much or a good memory too much, and now you've switched. You still caused, there is a trigger still. There is still a stimuli that's causing the switch. It's not just randomly happening. So the quicker you can learn as a system to sort of track those switches, you can maybe figure out what's causing you guys to switch as much or less, or, whatever. If switching isn't causing you distress, disregard, that specific bit of advice, because once functional multiplicity is reached, switching is something you do naturally, but it is also something that is a team effort. So most of your switches would probably stay between the fluid and the teamwork switch. So all of that to say, switches differ between system to system. What my switches look like are going to be different from yours. We've had some really slow dissociated switches, and we've had some really quick ones like you just saw in the video that we did for you. It feels like people will say, oh, it's performing switches. No, there's an example that I can show you that I can ask Tristan to come out immediately if I need him to, if I really need him to. Sometimes he'll just yeet himself forward like a sudden switch because I didn't think I needed his help, but I did. Or whoever's out front needed his help and didn't think they did. So honestly, I don't feel it's performative because I want people to understand that with healing does come the ability to do so on command, to do so when you need to. But at the same time, you should be gentle with how you do it. We did our switch on camera because it was planned between Tristan and I, and that was pre-agreed and it wasn't a problem. These are things that you talk about within your system, and those are highly personal to each system. So what works for us may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for them. So keep that in mind when it comes to seeing others switch and viewing other systems, talking about switches. It is very personal when it comes to switching. Like, yes, we can share what it feels like. Yes, we can kind of describe it, but it is personal to each system. So try not to take too much weight behind switching videos. Everyone does switch differently. Everyone's going to look a little different. I didn't show you a lot of my dissociated ones because I'd have to dig up footage and I'm too lazy to do that. So switches are different. Take that in mind. Just because yours don't look like mine doesn't mean you're not valid. And just because mine don't look like yours doesn't mean I'm not valid. So you have a good day. We love you. Be safe. Be well. You are respected, loved, and cared for here. Hope you have a good day.